Hey guys, are you ready to talk some football? I know that I am, and we're coming at you right now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, we are talking all things Tampa Bay for Hard Knocks right now, season 11, episode 2. We had a big episode this week, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys all about it. My name is Lyndsey Wegner. You can tweet me at Lyndsey Wegner. That's LYNDSEYWEGNER. Use that hashtag ABTV Hard Knocks if you want to talk to me. Let me know what you think about this episode, what you think about what happened, talk about the game tomorrow. We've got it all right now. Big thing this week. Thing that was the main point of this episode was the kicker situation between Aguayo and Folk. And they actually traded up, Tampa did, to pick up Aguayo from Florida State. They got them in the second round, but he was so inconsistent, they picked up Folk last March. And this was the battle between watching them play today. And really difficult to watch, especially when you've got defensive tackle Chris Baker kind of talking crap to both Aguayo and Folk, but really honing in on Aguayo and him not doing well. Even though he had 5 for 5 later on in practice, he's just inconsistent. You could see it getting in his head. He doesn't have the years under his belt on a football team where he's just confident and calm and collected when he's kicking, and you can just see it. So big moment between them. One of my favorite parts of the episode was actually when Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans were talking about LeBron. And I just filmed a sports audition 2 days ago, and I talked about him being LeBron James being the most overrated player. And I think Deshaun Jackson might be on my side about this. Mike Evans thinks that he's the second best player right under Jordan, which I have to agree with Jordan being the number one player for sure. But, Jackson said that LeBron had to go somewhere else to win his championships. And Evans pipes in saying, well, you just did that coming here. So they have a really great friendship that's building. And I also love seeing them doing the drills during practice where they're going over, under, around, catching the ball around each other, which is really prepping them for the game. And Jackson was getting a little tired during it. But I like seeing that. I like seeing their friendship. It's really neat to watch. And this was just like a super funny segment. Another thing that I really enjoyed was Ed Hocula, the NFL referee, coming in and telling them, okay, these are, your end zone dances, your touchdown dances, nothing sexual, nothing violent in nature. And Gerald McCoy says, well, what if I do this? And he does this thing with his legs, but it doesn't involve his hips. And he's like, if I make my face like I'm grooving, then I can't be fined for this, and I can't be fouled and get the flag or anything. I kind of agree with him. I want to see him pull it out during a game to see what happens, because he did say it was, the referee said it was in the gray area, but I'd like to see it happen during a game. McCoy is also wearing different wrestlers on his socks every single practice. Like, he's known for this. He talks about how he has a superhero bat cave, man cave, and his goal in life is to get hit by a superhero. I think this is pretty awesome, and I think that the fact that he compared himself not to the Hulk, but to Batman, because Batman doesn't have superpowers. He doesn't have superpowers, but he's up against these super athletes, and just like Batman, he had to figure out how to beat them. I thought that was super great analogy. He's our all-pro D lineman with speed. His get up and go is what really makes him rare when it comes to him just being this like beast of a person. And the coaches are talking about it. Doug Martin's talking about it. Doug Martin is obviously going to be out for a 3-week suspension at the beginning of a season. And as I was watching during the game, Jaquez Rogers was carrying the ball, and I think that he's going to be taking over for Martin when Martin's out for this 3 weeks of suspension at the beginning of this season. Brent Grimes, our cornerback, big thing trending this week, I'm sure you guys saw, was his wife, Miko. She is all over all the articles because she's not your typical football player's wife. She's got a little bit of a potty mouth. She's at all the games. She's at all the practices. She talks shit with him and she amps him up for the games. And I mean, they have this really great relationship. He's very quiet, much more mild-mannered than she is. And it was kind of fun to see her like getting him amped and hearing that's how she like gets him going for the games. And she was at the practice when he actually got injured by the cleat. That he got a real bad gash, but it was only stitches, nothing super duper bad. Going to keep him. It's just going to keep him out of the game against the Bengals this last week. He'll be back in the next week or two. We've got 3 quarterbacks competing to be the backup quarterback. We've got veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick, 13 seasons, the last 2 of which were at the Jets, Harvard grad. He's been on the field. He knows what's going on. He's got a good arm on him. Ryan Griffin has been with Tampa Bay the last 2 years as well, but he sat the bench, obviously, under Jameis Winston. And then they've got undrafted free agent LaFau. And they're showing the montages of the guys in practice. And obviously, they're going to edit it and make Jameis Winston just look like the rock star and superstar that he is. It's obvious. They're hands down, he's phenomenal. But they did show a couple really good passes with Griffin and Fitzpatrick into coverage. Really, like, it really was a toss-up, I think, until it came time to game time and Griffin got hurt. He was getting hit quite a bit, and that final hit on his right shoulder is going to take him out for a few weeks, and I think that essentially takes him out for the backup quarterback race too. So I think Fitzpatrick is going to be picking up that position. I think they're going to drop LaFau. I think he's too young, he's too green to be playing backup at this point. That's just my thought. I did like the joke. The center, Evan Smith, asked Fitzpatrick how it was playing against Bart Starr, who was obviously a Packer back in the day when my grandparents had season tickets to the games and then gave them up because they didn't think they were valuable. Kicking myself every day when I think about that. The arrival in Cincinnati for the game against the Bengals meant that they had a clean slate. The rookies were nervous and anxious. This is their first NFL game. McNichols was the first game he ever attended. And they're talking about how Jameis is such a good leader. And he walks into the locker room and he's saying to every single player, "I've got your back." He's pepping them up. His motivational speaking, like his motivational speaker he listens to every morning, Eric Thomas, I felt like I was listening to this motivational speaker. This is your chance. You've got one shot. Do it here. Seize the opportunity you've got tonight. The offense has so many great qualities: size, speed, skill, and then Jameis and defensive coordinator Mike Smith was really positive at the beginning of the game, but as we got into the second half, he was getting really frustrated with linebackers missing tackles, and especially the play where Driscoll their quarterback got the touchdown. I mean, these guys need to make these plays to stop this. I was really happy when I saw linebacker Riley Balla come back in and make some tackles, keep the ball at the other end zone, and end the game strong like that. His funny thing of the night was the fact that his mom said, "I don't really think you look like Joe Dirt. I think you look more like Fabio." Poll to you guys: who does he look more like? I'm leaning with Fabio, but I don't think that he should tell any of his teammates this because that could be bad. Another thing I noticed during the game, and I was watching the show today, that a lot of the passes Jameis were throwing were actually behind the guys. Now, as the guys are running their routes, you can't slow down to make that play. You can't reach behind you to get the ball. You can, but the timing was off, and the coach said that. And I mean, he realized that. He knew he has to finish the game. He needs to get the touchdowns. It's all about that. So I think it's just more working on that, and Jackson kind of called him out on that as well. And we see Aguayo miss the extra point. So that right there was the first mistake, and Folk come in and make the 45-yard field goal. And at the end of the game, when it came down to it and they needed him to make a field goal to try and get the game closer to see if it was potential to win the game with another touchdown, Aguayo missed the other field goal. And his coach said his rhythm was off and it was choppy. And I think he's just super in his head and the pressure's on him. And obviously nobody talks about the field goals he makes. They talk about the ones he didn't make, and it's constant criticism for it. And I read an article on ESPN.com with the director of Hard Knocks and producer of NFL Films, Mike Dissinger, who, the point of view from the crew having to talk to these guys that get cut. And we see it happen right here and how disappointing it is. And they have to ask them, well, how do you feel about this? And these hard questions, when this changes their life, changes their career. But it is part of camp. It's the reality of football. It is something we need to see. I do think it humanizes the players, and it also gives us a chance to view what their life is like, the pressures that they face, and what they go through for these 3 weeks, how difficult it is. But it's really, I find it very, very easy to empathize with the players that are getting cut. And I thought General Manager Jason Licht was a little hard on Aguayo. He had said he wanted to cut him right after the game, but waited till the next day. And they have the confidence with Folk. He's consistent. They can rely on him. The other 52 players on the team can't rely on Aguayo, so they had to cut him. And as they tell him this, he says, he knows it's a mistake he's made. He's got to keep his head up and he's got to keep pushing. And he let them and himself down. And I think a great thing about it was that Coach Cutter said, him and Licht have both been fired. They both have lost jobs. And you just got to push through. There's always another opportunity out for you. This can speak in any career. There's always something out there for you. You just have to go and get it, and hard work and focus, and it's very possible. And he said, you had you were the most consistent kicker in college football. This isn't, the end for you. He's still got a future. But very disappointing and stinks for him, but he got picked up by the Bears last week and hit 11 consecutive kicks in a row for them. So perhaps that burden of having a backup guy, Folk, come in, that the pressure's off of him, and now he can really concentrate on his game and making the field goals. We see Folk and Fitzpatrick with their families paddle boating on a lake with their family, which was, I always like seeing the family aspect of it too. McLean we saw with his girlfriend and his daughter, and bringing her to practice, and he had his shot at cornerback with Grimes out, but he also had to be working with his coverage responsibilities were with Justin Evans, who missed the play, so the Bengals got a touchdown, and that's frustrating for him. And obviously all these guys miss their families, but his outlet has been bringing a sketch pad and drawing and sketching, and is a very, very talented artist. Great to see. And water cooler talk at the end of the game has to finish with Game of Thrones talk. Our pet's obviously a few episodes behind, so all the guys are kind of like doing these like motions and stuff, and he's like, you're giving it away, you're ruining it for me. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so I'd be in his position where I don't want to know what's happening. And then closing with Chick-fil-A people being the best people ever, and they're the nicest people, and they are. Next week, we are going to see Coach Cutter seeing the news that Aguayo got picked up by the Bears and is doing well there. We'll see how he does this week. And I read an article today that said there were a lot of scuffles and tempers flaring between the Jaguars and the Bucs at their practice together, their joint practice. We're going to see how that happens, how that all works out tomorrow at 5 p.m. for their game. And hopefully we'll get a win out of this one. I think they have the possibility, and now that they know who their quarterback's going to be, a little bit more work with the team this last week to get everybody in, and everyone, the coaches kind of buckling down and being a little bit harder on them will get them in a better mindset. And Jameis Winston just has the leadership to really, really push this team to do their best. And he's so charismatic to watch. I mean, he's really really amazing to watch. So you guys, let me know what you think. Let me know who you think our backup quarterback's going to be. Do you think it's going to be Fitzpatrick? Do you think it's going to be Griffin? Who would your superhero be if you would be any superhero? Would you take a punch from a superhero? Let me know. You can find me on all things social media at Lyndsey Wegner. That's LYNDSEYWEGNER. I look forward to talking with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.